you've ever been around show business people, you'd be first to know that they value practice, rehearsal. And they don't do it because things are falling apart. They do proactive prevention. They are committed to excellence because they know that the process is about staying on their game. If you look at athletics, same thing. Is the athlete as a professional is structured in such a way where they consistently are reaching for that level. And so they value practice, they value preparation before execution. Now, if we look at business, this isn't the norm. So we make up our list, we go after things, we knock stuff down, we get a little dopamine off that to-do list. But really, we need to look at business as an artist. We need to look at business as entertainment. And one of the things about athletics and entertainment is when there's a peak moment, in business, when there's money making going on, or in athletics, there are superior performances going on, that thing happens in very little time. I mean, think about it. How long is the pigskin really in play in a football game? Probably about 3.5 minutes. That's actually the clock running, the play is happening. And so you think about all the other preparation in the non-prime time activities is really what takes up all the time. In business, all the non-money making activities is what takes up all the time. In fact, that's the thing that takes us away from the effectiveness of the money making activities. So we love the control when we get it because we can have some sense of clear the runway, I'm going to go and perform. And in some sense, that's what the preparation, that's what the cleanup is for. We have something in business called maintenance days. It's specifically geared for this kind of work, to prepare, to repair, to upgrade, and delegate, and do all four at a very, very high level such that when you do, you position yourself for this primetime game day, this 1-hour singing performance where you come out and knock them dead. And you do this very thing. And if you've ever hung out with an entertainer, they can't do this 7 days a week all day long. There's very peak moments where they do it 3 or 4 hours a week, and then they have this extraordinary result or consequence as a result. But I'd like to get into why they practice at the level they do and what great practice could look like in a business team setting in what we'll call a sprint. And so this is called the 90-day sprint process. And I came up with this because I saw time and time again what makes great teams great and what makes a team more effective in performing versus an alternative team, and what are the key ingredients in doing so. I've got 25 years at this. I've got over 50,000 coaching sessions with some really interesting companies that perform at a very highly technical, tactical level competitively. And so SPRINT stands for S, systematic action, P, process improvement, R, routines and repetition, I, integration, N, never stop learning, and T, test and measure. Systematic action. Systematic action is the organized consistency of going over and over again the key process, procedures, steps, the process elements that need to be mastered at a very high level of capability and a very high level of ownership and confidence. When we do things systematically, what we're doing is getting to a place where our habits are unconscious in the level of competency that we take delivery of. And so to work at this, we have to go through stages of learning, from becoming very conscious about our incompetency, from being unconscious, and then being very conscious about our competency and capability, to becoming unconscious about our capability and our capacity. It takes about 65 days to realize this natural, automatic capability of mastering just about anything. And so it's no longer 20 days. We need a longer time frame with a longer algorithm of routine and consistency, rinse and repeat, to be able to take delivery of this level of performance. So we're talking about the difference between an amateur and a professional. If I'm a professional pianist, I'm going to practice every day for a period of time that gets me to another level. If I'm in business and I'm in sales, which most entrepreneurs, I can't think of anybody who isn't. You're in the business of selling someone on something, making them emotional about what you sell, removing a danger, increasing an opportunity for them, reinforcing a strength with your product or service or solution. And so in doing so, how can you increase the best thing that you do to get better? And so you're always growing. It's a growth mindset. And so there's continuous process improvement. P. Process improvement means that everything that we do, whether it works or doesn't work, everything is practice in the organization. That we never really realize that highest level of perfection, but we're reaching for it. We're reaching for that standard, and therefore everything we do, whether it's a mistake or success, we treat it with a 50-50 value. If it's great, it works, then it's great. If it doesn't work, then it's also treated great, and that's a moment of reflection and ideation where we use that mistake constructively. So there are no bad mistakes. There's only successful failures in this sense, because we're committed to process improvement where we plan, do, study, and act, PDSA, on the material that we're working on. We make a plan, we do it, we study the feedback from it, and then we act on newly modified information as we go along. And this is learning from the past, learning from the performance, where we look at what we achieved, we look at the reasons why we got to where we are, then we set a further process improvement or another step, and then we go out and perform it at a time and place, and then we get back to the beginning again. What did we achieve? How did we get it to be this way? Look at the root cause of why it worked or why it didn't. That information then suits us into further progress planning so that we can get into the first action again. And as we continue to cycle this at any level of performance, we increase our level of confidence and we increase our level of capability, which gives us another sense of what I can reach for. I have another level of outcome or another crest that I can reach for because I'm setting up another level. I'm moving to another level of capacity. And so it's learning and following a track, learning by doing things, and then action equals clarity. Clarity of this is then turned into newly modified action. So continuous process improvement is organized by the continuous pursuit of excellence toward a goal, and that goal matters, and therefore we're oriented to improve whatever we need to do that helps us see how to get it. That also is process improvements by the who. So we have who's that are doing right things, and they're also doing right things right. It's effective and it's efficient. And if we're always improving doing right things, then we have routines and repetition. We have a time and place, a training space to do what we do. Companies should be spending 6 to 8% of their budget on training. It's one of the most outstanding ways to outcompete a competitor. It's a great way to let your staff know that you love them and that you want to develop them and that you believe in them and that you trust them in the sense that you're developing them into the higher levels of excellence. You're not doing repeats and repetition because there's something wrong with them. You're doing it because you understand what's involved in getting to the goal and keeping that goal and being able to sustain it. And it's respecting the level of output that's required by that goal, that whatever got us here won't get us there. So we need to adapt and change and modify our capacity on behalf of the goal that motivates it. And then we have integration, which is getting to a place in the process where we integrate the newly performed routines and things and they become natural, and then we never stop learning. And so we're always with this lab mentality where everything is a process of learning. Fighting reality in the sense that whatever we get is something we shouldn't have gotten. No, everything we get is useful. We need to figure out, it's our job to figure out how to be constructive and really own that and learn how to do something with the information that we have and play with the cards that we have in our hand. And then test and measure. What's measured gets done. Is by having measurements, it's easier to see where current reality is. By knowing a measurable goal as a yardstick, I can see where I am now, and then I can gauge that distance. It'd be like fuel supply and getting efficiency on an airplane. If I know the distance I'm going to go and the gasoline that was spent, if I'm measuring that gas, I know how to make that gasoline more efficient, get it more distance because I know what I'm measuring and I know the distance that I need to get there. So systematic action, process improvement, routines and repetition, integration, never stop learning, and test and measure. This is called a sprint. It's a 90-day sprint process. It's because as a new team or an existing team, you're going to work on your business. You're not just in your business, you're going to work on your business. And that by doing so, you realize that you're stepping up to a level of greatness. And greatness is performance times potential minus interference. Greatness is performance times potential minus interference. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that performance is what you're creating as a coaching leader. You're creating a setting for psychological safety, for people to be true, to be transparent, get things wrong, admit mistakes, so they can use those mistakes as assets. Because if we make it a fragile, precarious atmosphere, people get afraid. They're afraid they're going to look stupid. They're afraid to be humiliated. They're afraid to not get that promotion. And so that censors some form of the truth. And the thing that really sets us free to improve processes is to commit to current reality and tell ourselves the truth. Right? I remember watching a show on television about cooking, and the chefs were in a competition. And at the end of the show, the chef that won was told by the other chef next to him that the other just won because he cooked better. And that's a really interesting reality. It wasn't other reasons, arbitrary reasons, or reasons to lower the insult or whatever. It was just the other coach, the other cook cooked better. And that's okay to admit, and that's useful information because we can learn how to cook better. And so you cannot shrink yourself to greatness. You have to expand yourself to greatness. And I think that's an eternal truth, is that if we're going to create an alternative future, we have to be willing and able to commit ourselves with the price and the sacrifice to do some different things to be able to get there, right? So we're not problem solving in the sense that we're removing an unwanted circumstance. We're generating the capacity, like architecture, building capacity toward a goal that we seek to create. So the goal or the outcome that's envisioned is what matters enough for us to commit to this level of excellence. So let's talk about commitment to excellence and being a batteries included team. Why should I put my well-being in your hands? That is what trust is. Trust is putting well-being in another's hands. But is trust only about competency? Right? They say in the military, when they talk about Semper Fi, my understanding is I know you've got my back because I'm putting my well-being in your hands. It's not whether you're the best person to shoot that or whatever you have, the weapon you use. It's about whether I know you've got my back or not. So trust is higher than competency. So trust is, would I be willing to put my well-being in your hands? Why would you be willing to put your well-being in the hands of your team? Why do you put your well-being in the hands of your boss? Why do you put your well-being in your own hands? Why do you trust yourself? So the word confidence means con, with fidelity, or with fidere, which means trust. Fidere in Latin means trust, with fidelity. So why do I commit with trust myself, my well-being, to a team member? It's two things. It's give-a-shitism and it's unique ability. Give-a-shitism is I care a lot about you, and because I care a lot about you, I don't want you to get hurt. I'm willing to commit to the highest level of excellence I can possibly exude. If I'm on a football team and I don't want the quarterback to get his leg broken, why am I stopping that rush? Because I don't want him to get his leg broken, because I care. I want him to deliver the goods. I want him to be a great player. Right? That's give-a-shitism. And my unique ability is I'm going to find in myself, in my own self-awareness, the highest and best possible use, my biggest contributing factor that I can bring to the game that will accelerate that will help me meet my give-a-shitism, that I do care about the other player, and therefore I'm helping the other player qualify to put their well-being in my hands because I'm the best in the world at what I do, or at least I'm committed to that, or doing the thing that I'm made to do, meant to do, born to do, called to do, in combination with what I really care about. So why do I earn the trust of others? Because I care intrinsically. I desire, which is desire of Sere, desere, which means of the stars, of the king. I desire in my basic goodness something that I truly, for the greater good, want to do good things for, because I give a shit about it. I have give-a-shitism. And that give-a-shitism calls my authentic self, not my artificial voice, but my true voice, the one that really gives a shit, who has this ability, this factory-made ability to act, to take aim with my gift. So it's intrinsic desire times self-awareness or self-knowledge. And self-knowledge is your most potent weapon as a leader. So you might ask yourself, what is the commitment to excellence? Well, it's three things. It's one, I truly, truly care about where the other is. Two is I truly can be depended on because I trust myself to do what I know I am best at doing, because I knew early on in my life what other people valued me for. I listened and I realized that I'm not just alone going to define myself. A person is who they are because of another person. We are constantly interdependent. There is no way to escape that. We do not know the properties of ourselves without the patterns of relationship that we have between each other. And so a leader can't go on and see their own face. You will never see your own face. The only way to see you is through the eyes of others. So what other people see in you, why they rely on you, why they buy from you, why they follow you, is not just because you've artificially made something up for them to trust you. It's because you've been more of yourself, doing the thing that you're gifted at doing, and that thing is something that other people really have a magnet about, and they want to say yes to you, follow you, and do what you ask. They will put their well-being in your hands because they trust you because of that. And you're just being more of yourself. You're following an authentic voice. You're trusting that thing about you that you always do, that's principle-centered in every situation. You can't not do it. It's something you don't learn or train in. It's something you realize and you awaken to. It's your place to take in the ecosystem of your social life. And you get at it because you're self-aware of it now. And you know you can be depended on because you're willing to come out in the world and let other people depend on you for it. You're offering it. You're self-reliant on this in the sense that you're putting other people into depending on it. And that's because you're ushering it and you are nurturing it in yourself because you recognize it. And it's about being objective about who you are. Now, you don't have to use this. This is not a rule that says, well, this incredible special talent that you have, you came to Earth and the program is that you have to do it. There's no rule book about that. You can be talented to be talented to be talented, and you could be truly excited about learning about something that you aren't necessarily that great at, but the more excited you are about learning it, the more your colleagues can depend on you. So one reason why is because you are self-reliant. Second is I really truly want the vision that we want, that what my team is after. I choose it. It's a workable idea. I truly want it. I'm committed to it. I want it. I'm not trying to. I'm not faking it. I really truly want it. I'm enrolled and committed, and that's for me to consider. I either want it or I don't want it. You can't manufacture love, but man, if it matters, is there something reliable about that? Yes, because what you love, you're gifted at. Right? What you're delighted to do, what you truly get energized doing, what it is that brings you ecstatic, follow your bliss, as Joseph Campbell would say. What he's saying is something is happening at the level of vision. It does something to you. It invites you in a way. It's noble enough to get your attention. It gets you out of bed in the morning. Visions are elusive. They're imaginary, but you imagine it, and therefore what you do is you care about it before you create it. And then something stands in need of you. This larger will that connects with your puny will, something in you, this great goodness to serve. What is needed of me, and am I the right person to do this? That's your innate wisdom. That's the part of you that's that wiser capital S self that says, I'm here, I'm accounted for, I'll stand in the presence of this, need me, because I know that I'm willing and able. I pledge myself, I'm standing firmly, I'm persuading myself in my own self-allocation to be stepping into and saying yes. Responsibility is taken, it's not given to you. It's appointing oneself to the task of what's needed of you. It's caring a lot about the vision that I seek to create because I'm a community member and citizen of the team. And I want to be depended on because of this interdependent awareness, that I don't want another person, this other-based awareness, to be harmed. I know I'm depended on, therefore I'm going to be great. I love the vision, therefore I'm going to be great for it. And I know that I'm called. I'm not just doing my job, but that this is something that I'm called to do and that it feels right. And I have this felt sense of service in my heart to do it. These are the commitments to excellence that make us do systematic action. If we don't have the intrinsic part, the interiority of it, what's the point? The process isn't motivating. If I want to be great at running, do you think running motivates me? No. It's the idea of what running gives me that motivates me. If I'm going to lose weight, is it the goal? Is it my waistline that motivates me? No, it's going to the beach, taking my shirt off, and seeing myself feel great. That gets me to do it. Knowing I'm depended on by other people, whoa, that gets me going. Is that a catalyst? I want to be great for them because I care. And knowing my abilities inside and how I can use them, what I can do with it, and being able to express that, I think if we do not express that, that truly is depression. Denial and depression, which is truly a blockage. It's an invisibility of self. It's a self-censoring that we don't play our own music. You got to play all the music in you. So now let's move from commitment to excellence to outcome and reward, because I think we're beginning to talk about how to be reliable in this process. And what is a reliable process for committing to these sprints? So let's be clear. There's an outcome and there's a reward, right? And when I have an outcome, it means that I'm wanting to create what I'm creating. And the reward is that I may be satisfied or unsatisfied or fulfilled or unfulfilled in the process. But if I was only focused on how I feel or my mood or whether I was satisfied, how many creations or endeavors would have been canceled early on? How many greats would have stopped endeavoring or gone the distance and improving and increasing their capacity because the rewards were just not there? See, I think we have to distinguish. The role of character depends on several frames, like a camera lens. Lens 1, gratifications and impulses. If I'm in that frame, I'll be very greedy about the short term, and I will let go of the long term. I will be so interested in short-term feelings rather than long-term capacity. So how do I develop a muscle? I just do. I develop a fortitude over time. On Broadway, the show must go on. I deliver the performance. I create. I professionalize my art by keeping that sense of consistency and systematically acting. See, I'm not in a first person. I'm not in he. I'm not in I. I'm more in it and them, and my pronoun shifts to the performance, the outcome, the team, the dependency, the vision. The artist is focused on the canvas, not themselves. See, we pathologize our pain too much. We get so involved in how we feel, what's right, what's not. We're so overly sensitive and preoccupied with what things happen to us, what is happening to us, rather than how we're bringing something into being. Something. Like a mother who's suffering through the pregnancy, but her primary focus is on the baby and coming to life well. It's not on herself, and she doesn't even know how to be a mother. But there's a continuous, systematic acting upon the mother instinct and the process improvement of every instant, being better and better at raising the baby, and the routines and repetition and the breastfeeding and doing all those processes, lying down at certain intervals, taking good care of herself on behalf of the baby. All that excellence is striving towards what's depending on her. And then she integrates the capacity to become a great mother. And she never stops learning. And then she tests and measures to see where she is, where the baby is. She uses some of those formats or some of those metrics to be able to see her distance and progress. It's all the same thing, sprint. But the outcome is more important than the reward, so we walk forward. And as we walk forward, yes, we may not want to walk. Yes, we're having that conversation with ourselves. So resistance comes up. Procrastination comes up. Procrastination is always looking for a guarantee. I need to make sure it's safe. I need to make sure it's going to work. How could I do this unless I know it's going to work? But see, you won't know if anything's going to work until you do something. See, believing and creating are not going together. There is no way in reality to really know if something will work or not. So the purpose of creating it is not because you know it'll work. The future will punish that kind of certainty, but it will reward curiosity. And curiosity means I start with a blank slate. I start separate from what I know. I come to a place where I'm starting here, where I am, with what I have, with what I can do. And I have to take a reality check. I may not like where I am, but that doesn't matter. The point is, do I have a dead reckoning on where I am compared to where I want to be? Now we're talking. Now we have a place to go. We got a structure for resolving that tension between the two. And so The process is one thing. It's very rewarding to do it anyway. Whether I get the end in mind or not, I'll tell you whether I did when I created it. I'll believe it once it comes into reality. But doing the work is based on I care. That I care about the vision, therefore I do the work. I care about what dependencies others have on me, therefore I do the work. Interdependent awareness. What is needed of me and my unique ability, I do the work on behalf of expressing it because I get joy out of doing the work anyway. I get joy for giving value for the joy of it. I do the work. Creating what matters is successful the minute that I create what matters because I'm being true to myself. My authentic voice is guiding what I want to create. Not because I should, not because it should matter, but I'm striving, creating, doing because I know it's what's required, even if it's mundane and little stuff over and over again. The little things. It's those things. And I must know what's called my secondary choices that serve my primary choices. My actions serve my outcomes. The only reason why I take a secondary choice action is because a primary choice outcome needs it. It's not for me to feel good. It's not for me to ameliorate some kind of pain. It's not for me to experience X or Y. It's not chemical, so I can enjoy the joy of knocking it off the list. No, it's done because it moves closer to what I want to create, or it doesn't. So we make choices, and the choices are based on I choose, which is the role of you as the leader is to confront people's freedom to choose to commit to the process. The decision is the consequences that come from it. I like the high consequences that come from it, but the choice is I choose it because I value something very highly, and therefore I do it. It's not about commitment, because commitment implies I can't get out of it. No, choice means I do it because I want to. It's consensual. And why do I do it? Because I love the outcome enough to do it. I love the other people depending on me enough. I care. I got give a shitism. I love the part of me that I get to express in this that's part of me that I do naturally. I trust my unique ability. That's choice. That's how I'm utilizing my motivation. That's how I'm putting my motivation to use in striving for excellence. I'm matching what I'm motivated by to the level of excellence in the present moment that I'm committing to in the sense that I'm doing what I'm doing. But the commitment isn't like, hey, I can't get out of it. I'm choosing to commit because I love it enough to bring it into being. And the love is something that is enough. I don't need commitment when I love something enough to create it. It's like a mother who's saying, I'm committed to my daughter. Well, I love the future state of my daughter to be committed as a mother. Why would you need to commit to something that you can't get out of? See, commitment implies that I can't trust me, so therefore I can't get out of it. I've locked myself in because I think I might wiggle out. Well, let's go back to the frames. Frame 1 is impulse and gratification. Frame 2 is goals and values. So my character is supporting that. If I'm in frame 2, then I'm supporting the action toward the goal and value that I want to create, or even frame 3, which is dreams and longings, really big picture stuff, eulogy values, big aspirations, callings, big ideas, dreams. It's great. We can subscribe to which one we want to focus on. Zoom in, zoom out. We want to do zooming in, impulses and gratifications. High elevation, goals, values, dreams and longings. We get to decide which frame from which we're going to operate. So as you go along, what I recommend in this 90 days is that you pick 12 systems. And 12 systems mean break down with the goal that you're pursuing as a team, what are the 7 to 12 impact areas that you're going to focus on. And then in each impact area in these 12, assign a person, maybe 1 or 3, who are going to be a watchtower ninja of how we did this week in that area. You get a 5-minute report from them each week. And then we have a tool here called the Weekly Rhythm Register, which is cool. And you can use this in a way that gets you to perform certain behaviors that are commensurate daily with what needs to be done. And then you have a net gain after you set the goal and you create it. You're going to look at what the outcome was of that effort. So week to week. So you figure you're going to be doing, if it's 90 days of this focus, but you make one every week in rotation. So you very much focus on one at a time, driving this unitasking way of one thing at a time every week that your team's focusing on and driving the excellence on that. And then you have the Weekly Rhythm Register, which are all the behaviors that really are driven around the subsets of that one particular thing that you're going to focus on improving. And so you lay out a chart. and create a 90-day sprint plan. And it means name each system that are going to be improved or that are going to be magnified on behalf of the goal or goals that you want to create. Assign the overviewers, which are the Watchtower ninjas. Who's going to be overviewing that? They don't have to be the best person at it, by the way. They're just going to be the tracker. They're the sergeant at arms. They're going to give us the truth as to how we're doing. And then assign a documenter. That every one of these 12 systems you're going to document into 5 to 7 steps, so you begin to manualize, indoctrinate, and memorialize at every step. And you can do that through the performance. As you go the beginning of the week, end of the week, you can have the documenter, the sergeant at arms, tell the court reporter, so to speak, what these documentation elements should be. We start from this point and we end at this point, or we start from the end point and then we come back to the beginning point and we go over the 5 to 7 steps and then sub-steps. Once you've got it into a model like that, now you can repeat it. It's like a prototype, and you can improve it as you go along. You could take the next 90 days and start another 12-system sprint. You put this weekly rhythm register in place. So you have 12 weeks, you have the name of the system for each week, you have a watchtower assigned, a court reporter in place, and you have a time and place to practice what you're going to do. That's the sprint. But all around it is this motivational component that we're talking about, in how you should look at this as an athlete or an artist, how to look at the commitment to excellence and why, and what greatness is and what greatness is not. And we've talked about outcomes versus rewards, choices and commitments, and what it means to reliably walk forward and have an organized consistency in getting better and better at creating. And by the way, you don't need to be creative to do this. Creating is bringing something into being because it matters. It didn't exist before. But you don't need to be creative per se. This doesn't require creativity. Creating is a self-reliant, discipline-based process, just like any professional, of bringing something into being and consistently using the current reality of the capacity you have to make strategic adjustments. And by the way, one of the key factors that's going to be involved is we have to take our identity out of the process. Everything that we improve is we get a dead reckoning on current reality of where we are on each system, whether optimal or suboptimal. Each one of those, when we assign a new plan, requires us to KISS. KISS means keep, improve, start, stop. So the whole process, when we evaluate, when we reflect on the current reality, when the watchtower says, hey, here's how we're doing, you use 3W KISS. And taking our identity out of it means don't take any of it personal. 3W, what happened? What about it is significant? And what's next? What happened? What about it is significant? And what's next? Nothing is to be taken personal. Because if we take it personal, then we can't use failures as assets. Because we think it's about us. Current reality is an acquired taste. It's just this. And then it's this. And then it's this. And we must stay objective about it in comparison to what we want to create. So that brings me to when we get into the process and we start repeating again and again and again, this repetition can get a little stuffy. It lacks diversity. So I call this structured flexibility. You know, we lock into a height of excellence, but then we zigzag to get it. So there's a part of it that we exploit, and there's a part of it that we explore. We're always open to exploring because we have a lab mentality, and we never stop learning. And in doing so, when we explore stuff, we'll figure out what works and what doesn't. That's what gets us to the KISS. What do we keep? What do we improve? What do we start? What do we stop? We can rotate that on a week. We can rotate that on a month. But we can 3W KISS. So what's next? Keep, improve, start, stop. And in doing so, we're constantly exploring what current reality is teaching us. But if we have a deadline, then we need to get to our exploitation, which means we need to get to the heuristics. It means we learn how to eliminate what doesn't work, and we increase our shortcuts as we go. We learn what works and what doesn't work in learning anything, like learning a language or learning how to sailboard. Same thing. We learn the shortcuts. We learn what works and what doesn't work by doing it. We learn how to create a restaurant by doing it. We learn how to make food by making it. The only way to learn is to follow a track. The track is I choose to create. It doesn't mean I know how to do it, because the way through how is, yes, I start with what because I care about the what. Then I learn how by committing what I'm doing to the choice I'm making to create it. It's a workable idea. So I start from where I am. And that means some of it's going to be exploring. As I'm going along, I'm leaving room for exploration. And then I'm leaving my exploitations on the table. What worked, what didn't work, and let's repeat this next time. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. All systems are either optimal or suboptimal. Bringing them to the optimal state means they're fit to create what we want. If we're creating consistently what we want, then the system is fit to it. There's no reason to be perfectionistic about a system that goes beyond creating what we want. If I want to create a great steak, I'm not leaving it on the barbecue so long that I can't eat it. I'm not sharpening my knife so much longer that it becomes blunt. There is something about overaging, about over-intensity. You don't need to. It's right intensity to the outcome. So when I bring my current reality to the vision, it means that everything that I've learned and explored, I've exploited to a point where consistently I can create that level of outcome because the capacity building is there. This is what happens through the sprints. And as you consolidate your gains, you stretch and then you consolidate and stretch and consolidate. Now the new current reality in the next 90-day sprint becomes a source of momentum. And you have that leap-off point into where we are now. We've consolidated our gains on concentrating on these systems and processes. How close did we get to the outcome that we got to? What worked? What didn't work? Why? What's our further progress point? 3W KISS. And then what are we going to set out and do? So in that sense, you're not so hurried in it, but you're able to do it in a way that avoids what I call overconfidence, which means we have an actual ability to see reality just as it is, and we need one another to do that. So when we go through the systems, we really need like 5 blind men watching the elephant. Where are we really now? The watchtower knows something, but we need to build a whole picture, a holistic picture of where we really are. And that requires some humility. It requires a commitment to know reality. But overconfidence can be horrible. We may not know our weaknesses or blind spots until we start to lean on one another to understand the actual picture. And we have to build it together, acknowledge together, what do we have? What is really currently going on? What do we have now compared to where we want to be? What's working, what's not working? And that'll help us see where to decorate the next part of the system, what to keep, improve, start, stop. At our incompetency level, we may have some incompetencies. And what are those competencies, and what do we choose to do with them? So incompetencies are very interesting. Some incompetencies teams do, they will never, ever, ever get better at it. So what do? We have to eliminate certain activities we may need to do. Those are tough decisions. We may need to change our business model. Or maybe we realize that we can delegate something to an outsource or lean on a partnership or a strategic alliance. Or maybe we need to automate something that isn't in human dependence anymore. Or maybe we need to essentially delay something. We say, it's just not getting any better, so let's take this off, and we have higher leverage in other areas to get more immediate leverage with less cost. Let's pick other things that we can get more potency with. So you have to really reflect. You have to reflect and look at the information. And information is the heart of the matter because it makes you creative. So there have to be moments of reflection to catch up with yourself and to stop, think, and act. And if you don't do that, then you get yourself so caught in the blur and the skimming that you're going so fast that you don't slow down to speed up, and slow is the fast. So we have to have moments of reflection in developmental meetings to be able to see what worked, what didn't work, what happened, what was significant, and what's next. And then KISS. And then assign again the newly modified plans that are going to be made, that are going to be put in, and then we're going to be measuring as we go along. And so as we're doing this, we're stacking wisdom, we're stacking our wins, we're stacking our capacity to get really, really good at what we're doing. And so I recommend as the next step that you go about this sprint as I've laid it out here in this layout, this roadmap, and you start instituting it. You have a first round meeting with the team and talk about the purpose, process, and payoff, the 3 Ps, the purpose, the process, and the payoff of what the 90-day sprint is about. And that this is all part of becoming the kind of organization and your core values that you want to become. A learning organization, an organization that learns better than the alternative. And that's an organization that sets out to create an aspirational future that it wants. It looks constantly at current reality in relationship to where it is and where it wants to be. And it has a good theory of action in keeping, improving, starting, stopping initiatives and key change efforts that are going to be the right things that need to get us to the place that we want to go. Because people in the right seats doing the right things right is what it's about at the right time. And if we give them the right support, the right reasons, they're the right people, and there's the right timing on things, we can deliver a higher level of performance and greatness if we're really going after this kind of thing. And when someone resists change, they're grieving. Yeah, if they don't know it can work, that's okay. There may be some grudging compliance. There may be a little bit of a, I don't know. I think skepticism is very, very healthy. And so the only way to know whether you can is by creating it. And so if you're willing to play, even though you're not sure it'll work, that's the right mindset. Having doubt is great. And then there'll be those that are early adopters. They'll jump in and they'll wholeheartedly play the optimists and the diehards. That's fine. But we need those skeptics too. And then those real non-compliance, arms folded, no, I'm not going to, the negators, just don't pay attention to them. I mean, they have something to say, but they'll probably be transformed by seeing the 4-minute mile, the result of what you're going to do, and then that'll be more proof rather than making it happen. They want to watch it first, and they're just slow. That's okay. You can't feed everyone, and you can't intensify everyone at the same level. So don't try to convince everyone that they're going to be Joe Diehard tomorrow and Mobilizer and all that. You'll know. You'll know when you have your conversation about commitment to excellence and the 3 reasons why. Who cares about the vision? Who wants to create it? And you'll notice it in their behavior and their willingness to play. Who understands their unique ability and how they want to put it into the overall ecology of what your team's going to create in the next 90 days. And you want to be dependent upon. They really, truly do. And so there's a great worksheet here I call the Team Canvas, and I'm going to include it here in the roadmap. And the Team Canvas is a great step for you to define the core ideology of the team, the mission, the values, the stuff you already know about, but putting it into practice is what it's about. It's about doing it. It's not about just knowing it in theory, and it's about making use of your core ideology and your envisioned future and the kind of key ambitions and convictions that your team belongs to. And so just higher performing teams, they form that kind of commitment and care for the outcome because they're committed and enrolled to the outcome because they choose to. And if you're talking about it, it'll probably grow on people's hearts. Because if they see through the lens of their heart, then they will pack that kind of spiritual punch behind doing the systematic action work, doing the process improvements, never stopping learning, integrating the changes, and then seeing the rewards of it. And as you take delivery of the outcome, it's important to celebrate that as you germinate and envision a new vision, and then you go through the assimilation process of riding the bike, keeping your balance as you're going along, using setbacks and frustrations as opportunities for construction. As you learn and move that curve from current reality all the way to vision, you bring into being the outcome. And as you do that, you welcome and celebrate the new capabilities and the new current reality because now you are living in the universe that you sought to create. If you'd like more information about our programs, we're called High Level Performance, and we're here to support leaders in creating really interesting organizations, growing leaders and growing companies, better business, better life. If you're ready for the next level, you'd like to jump to another level, or you've been thinking about getting some help and guidance, getting yourself coached, good for you. Highly recommend it. Everyone, including you, will benefit from that, even your family and the people that you lead, because it really is about what belongs to them. Your greatness is truly something that they depend on. And so how you lead, the way you lead, is a key component to their quality of life and their ability to realize and create what they want, what they dream. So we're at highlevelperformance.com. My name is JD, founder and head coach of highlevelperformance.com. The program we delivered is called the VIP Coach. And so we look forward to speaking with you. Have a great day, and I hope that whatever I talked about today is going to make a big dent in your universe, in how you think about things, and the level at which you can play ball at your sport. You truly are an athlete and an artist. You're not just an economist and an engineer, and that you can take it to a whole new level by making the 90-day sprint. Thank you.